My name's Ben, and I'm an alcoholic.
Guys, you saw in our last episode where we went pheasant hunting and trout fishing in the same day. Well, here we are tonight with world-class chef Ben Steigers. World-renowned class.
World class.
We haven't figured out what class he's in, but
See a lot of them.
I mean, because I'm also a world-class chef. It's just, you know, different layers, I guess, of classes. But like I'm at like a 90 level, where I feel like yours kind of more like in the 600 level classes.
Yeah, I mean, my power level's over 9,000, so watch out.
Okay, all right, so power level 9,000 chef Ben Steigers. And we've got our buddy Patrick. If you haven't seen the last episode, go check it out. That's where we got the pheasant and the trout for this cooking episode. So, Ben, tell us what you're gonna whip up for us tonight.
Well, first of all, thank you guys for taking me out, showing me the ropes out in the fields, out in the streams. But now, you guys are in my room. This is, you stepped into my hood. So tonight, we're gonna be taking some of that pheasant meat, we're gonna be taking some of that trout. And I've decided on kind of a Japanese style menu for tonight. So yeah, we're just gonna have a good time. We're gonna have a few cocktails, you know, make it a jamboree.
I am pretty good at that part.
Yeah, I hope so.
Caroling.
I'll be the judge of that.
Okay, all right. You brought me some extra special stuff for one of my cocktails that I'm gonna make. That we're gonna give that a shot. So stay tuned. We're gonna learn how to cut up some pheasant, how to cook it, and some cool recipes. Stay tuned.
So first up, we're gonna be breaking into these beautiful pheasant here. As you can see, we've already taken the wings off. We'll use those for something different. I still have the neck on here, and then we got the two legs, and then the main carcass. So inside, we still have all the viscera. So I left it this way so I can show you a technique, kind of a chef-y technique to break it down, where you don't need to take the guts out at all. You don't even need to handle them. So the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna come in here, we're gonna take this neck, cut it off at the base. We're gonna throw this neck in with the rest of our carcasses for a nice stock.
Stock pot?
Yeah. So I'm gonna grab the thighs like this, and then I'm gonna pull them to the side until the thigh bone pops out of the socket, right? Once that socket is popped out, I'm gonna start here at the top of the thigh and just kind of follow the bone along. You should be able to cut right in between the gap where that bone is. Keep following the bone so you have a thigh.
My thighs never look anything like that when I cut them off.
I'm flustered thinking about your thighs, you know? Whew. It's a wild thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, following the bone, pulling those off. So next, we have the breasts, right? So we're gonna wanna take these breasts off, but we're gonna leave the rest of the carcass intact. So the first thing I like to do is if you come to the front where that neck was, you have the wishbone right here. The wishbone attaches to this breastbone right here. So if you kind of just make a nice little slit, you should be able to separate that wishbone, and you should be able to pull it right out, just like that.
Dang.
So we got that bone there.
Are we supposed to pop that? Isn't that,
Yeah,
isn't that what we?
we can do that. Well, here.
Don't I have to get a piece and you get
Ready?
a piece?
Oh, that's
Classic.
point for me.
Always a loser.
So next I want to take these breasts off, but I want to be really careful because again, all that viscera is still in there and I don't want to touch that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow this breastbone right here with the tip of my knife, and you can set it down on its side And just using the tip of the knife, you're basically just following that bone. And just really lightly with just the last inch of the knife tip. And so you're gonna follow that rib cage all the way around until it comes off. And if you do it right, once you have the breast separated, you should also have that beautiful tenderloin right there. So we got tenderloins, we got breasts, we got thighs. Let me knock off this other breast real quick. So I have my other breast, I have my other tender. Those are right there. Clean our board off a little bit, clean off the knife. So at this point, I've taken all the meat that you would normally find on a pheasant off without having to touch the guts at all, right? That's all. Cool. So you could take this and you could chuck it. But we could also take this further, right? So there's still more cuts that we could find on here.
That's about all the meat that I normally end up taking off of one. So I'm really curious to see what else, what I've been missing.
So we've already taken the wings. Those are somewhere else. But right here where the wing joints are, if you follow them along the back, if you take your knife and go underneath right there, you can pull that off and you get the shoulder.
Oh, wow.
So there's a little chunk of meat right there. So for this next part, I'm gonna do this over the sink. So there's two sections to this carcass, right? You have the breastbone up top, and then you have that backbone back here, and all that viscera is inside, and you can feel it's soft up in here. So if you take your knife and you just kind of run it along right there, just until you start to open it up, then you can just peel the whole thing open, right? So now you have this, that can go in your stock pot. And then you have the backbone that can go in the stock pot, and then you have all your viscera in here. So first off, you got the heart here. So I'm gonna take that heart and leave it there. Next one down, the big dark pieces, you have the liver. So you got the liver part right there. And then the third part that I like to grab this is the gizzard, right? So that's where, that's the gullet where they do all their chewing. And then the rest of this, you got the intestines and stuff. Don't really want to mess with that stuff too much. So you take the rest of that out, clean this off, rinse all that blood off, and then you have the carcass that can go into your stock. So this liver, you clean off any extra bits. You can grill this off. You can like turn it into a pate. There's a lot of cool things you can do. Really rich irony flavor in there.
Now I've always heard from some wild birds and other stuff you might shoot, like rabbits or squirrels, you should check the liver to make sure that it's healthy.
Yes. So if you see spots on the liver, that's a bad sign. Toss that animal out.
Yeah. So then toss out everything you just did if you check the liver out and it's
exactly. Yeah. You toss the whole thing out.
So how's this one looking?
This one's looking great. You see, it has a nice even dark color. There's no spots. Something like that. That's normal. But when you're seeing like a bad liver, a diseased liver, you're gonna see definite spots. They're gonna be kind of greenish, kind of whitish, yellowish.
Okay.
Just looking real nasty. So that's the liver. The heart here, what you can do is you kind of split it open. You're gonna butterfly that open. And then just rinse out as much of that blood as you can. So you have nice clean meat. So you can see all the little white dangly bits, We can trim all that off. And that right there, you grill that up, that's a nice chewy little piece of meat right there. Then we have the gizzard. So first, I'm gonna cut that in half. So if you take a look inside, you can see what the pheasant's been eating, right? You see all those lovely greens, and you see all the little rocks that they swallow to, you know, that helps them chew, right? So we rinse all that out. So from here, you see this green, you know, so that's kind of that lining, that inside lining. What we're gonna do is we're gonna place that down on the cutting board, take our knife, and just kind of cut away. Kind of using a sawing motion. I don't know if that doesn't work. Then we can go this way. And we're just gonna cut that part right off. So that right there is our gizzard.
I've had chicken gizzard, but I've never had pheasant gizzards.
Oh, well, we're here to try new things, you know?
Try it.
So when you're out in the field and you know you're feeling tempted to just pull those breasts and go, right? As a chef, we're always thinking about how can we use the most out of each animal, right? It's not only about saving money, but it's also about respecting the animal, you know, trying to utilize as much of it as possible, right? So we have the thighs, we have the drums, we have the shoulders, liver, heart, gizzard, carcass, breasts, and tenders, right?
Wow.
So we have lots of different cuts that we can play with. From here, we can go even further, right? So we can take, so I remember you were telling me earlier that you don't usually use the drums because they can be real.
They're like stringy.
They're real stringy, right?
Yeah.
So with this, I separate the two, and I'm going to take my knife and just kind of run it right down the bone. And once I do that, I'm gonna keep following around the bone with the tip of the knife. And then once you get far enough that you can get around, you just get the knife blade underneath, bring it down, and you cut around that bone.
Wow, that was cool.
So you have that bone, you add that to the pile of carcasses. So you see here, you can actually feel it. It feels like bones. Like that's how strong their tendons are.
Oh yeah,
right? Because when
is that not a bone right there?
It's not. Those are just really, really strong tendons.
Wow.
Right? So what we can do is you just kind of take the knife and you can pull each individual one out, kind of scrape it a little bit. It helps if you have something like these fish boning tweezers, and you can just pull those out, right?
Oh, wow.
So if you manage to pull all that out. Now granted, this is time consuming, right? But if you really want to get the most out of it, this is, you know, just another way to get just that much more out of your pheasant, right? If you're going on a hunt and you're taking all that time, you know, to get out there and track the animal and shoot it and haul it back and clean it, you know, why not spend that extra 10 minutes and really go the extra mile and show the animal the care it deserves, right?
Well, I'm going to next time.
As I'm just scraping this meat out, I'm gonna set this meat aside, right? We're gonna make meatballs out of this later. Just mince it up real nice.
Is that for your chicky nuggies?
It's for our chicky nugs, man.
Fezzy nuggies?
The fezzy nugs.
Why? How come in this pheasant there's no gunshot at all, bullets at all? This must have been one of those that you shot at and just had a heart attack and it scared it.
Listen, I willed it to die.
Fall out of the sky.
Yeah. Like, please don't make me look bad in front of these guys. I can't hit the broadside of a barn, so please just die. That was the prayer that I sent up to the heavens.
There's not even
it worked.
There's not even a single shot in any of this. Now, I will tell y'all that there is one that we didn't bring in here that there's not a lot of. All of this doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. So yeah, one last thing we got. So with these tendies, this is gonna be the most tender part of the pheasant, but there is this one line of tendon that runs down. So again, I'm just gonna place that tendon down on the cutting board and then use kind of the side of my knife to just scrape that off.
Oh, wow.
And it cleans it right out. You're not losing any meat on that.
That thing's chewy. Have you ever eaten one of those?
Oh, more often than I care to admit.
You can chew, you can chew on that thing like gum for 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah. So those are our pheasant parts. I'll continue to work on this, and then we'll get to cooking with it.
All right. Well, while you do that, I'll make you a cocktail. How about that?
Sounds great, man.
Deal. So while Ben is over here prepping the rest of our pheasant for whatever cool stuff he's gonna cook up for us, you know that here at Blue Line, we like to have a libation or two while we're gonna cook and drink and hang out after a hard day of fishing and hunting. So I'm going to make a holiday mule drink, as we are gonna call it. So we're gonna start out with some mule glasses. Put in 2 of these ice balls here. So we're gonna start out with equal parts of a white rum, to equal parts cranberry, we're gonna take a sprig of our rosemary here. Stick that in. Then we're going to add in some of Ben's ginger simple syrup, which is 1 part water to 1 part sugar. Let that boil down. Once that gets hot, throw in some ginger and just let that boil, and it'll get down to this nice, it'll get this nice gold color. We've got this kind of a really nice, cool, simple syrup. You can see it's pretty thick, but it has a really nice, like, spicy kind of flavor to it. So we're gonna put a tablespoon of that into each of these. And I love that kind of sweet from the simple syrup, but like spicy kick from the ginger. It actually is really good. Then we've got a ginger beer that we're gonna put a little bit in. Get it just a bit fizzy. Stir that up a little, get that rosemary nice and kind of incorporated into that drink. You know what, we've got some tiny little balls here, so we're gonna add in another 2 balls. Just to kind of fill this drink up. And as you know here at Blue Line, all drinks contain 1.25 ounces of alcohol, unless otherwise noted. And 2 small ice balls. Then, last, we've got a couple of cranberries we're gonna toss in here. Nice little garnish, you know anything about putting garnish on stuff? No. It's not for you? Well, here at Blue Line, we really like to spice things up like that. You know, it's not just about the end, it's about, the presentation of something.
It's about the friendships you made along the way.
Exactly. God, you're getting it. You want to try this?
Oh, yeah.
I made it for you.
That's delicious.
Does it taste like Christmas?
It tastes like
A little
Christmas.
bit? A little bit like Christmas.
It tastes like Christmas and a little bit like pheasant.
a little bit pheasant.
You know.
Well, at home, do it in a different kitchen where you're not, drinking it in front of a bunch of pheasant meat. And hopefully you enjoy this one. This is coming out after Christmas, so maybe you can do it next Christmas, or it's still a great holiday or still a great holiday drink.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. Still a great holiday drink. Give it a shot. If you make one, tag us in it. We'd love to see your version of the holiday mule. These things became a big hit at our family Christmas a couple years back. And as you can guess, the people that made me and that we hang out with also really enjoy these. So there you go. Cheers.
So I finished processing all of the pheasant. So we have here, these are the breasts. We're gonna be turning these into katsu, some nice fried cutlets. All of the thigh, the drum meat, and all those leftover tenders, I've chopped up, minced up, and we're gonna turn these into some nice like minced patties that we're gonna fry up. And then lastly, with all the carcasses, threw those in a pot with some water and made a nice clean stock. So I'm gonna get this strained. We're gonna use this for some soup. All right, so I've diced some scallion, chopped some scallion, diced some onion. So what I'm gonna do now, these are gonna go in our meatball. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt to them. Okay, just a pinch. And I'm gonna mix that through. Now, if we let this sit for about 5-10 minutes, what that's gonna do is that salt's gonna draw the moisture out of those onions, and it's gonna soften them up quite a bit. And then we'll be able to squeeze the excess moisture out of them, so that moisture isn't going to go into our meatball. Speaking of our meatball, we have our mix here. So we have the thigh meat, you see the dark meat there. That has all been minced very finely. And then I've also chopped some of the tender meat. And those are a little bit larger chunks. To it, I've added some salt, some panko, breadcrumbs, some black pepper, an egg, and some Japanese 7 spice. So once I mix all this together, this is gonna be kind of the base for our quote unquote meatball mix. All right, so next up, we're gonna be working with the breasts. So typically when you're doing any sort of cutlets like this, you wanna pound them out. But these are already pretty thin, so I'm not too worried about it. And I'd rather preserve that natural texture that they have. So I'm gonna leave them as is. So here I have our breasts. We have flour, just regular all-purpose flour, some eggs that I've beaten up a little bit, and then some panko bread crumbs right here. So first, add a pinch of salt to our flour. Then we're gonna go 3 steps. First, coating the breast in flour. The flour is gonna help the egg stick to it, and the egg is the glue that binds the breadcrumbs to that breast. So we wanna make sure we're really pressing it in there, getting a perfect even cover. Not too thick, not too thin, but plenty beautiful. We're gonna set that aside and keep doing the rest of them. All right, so we've let our onions sit in that salt, draw out that moisture. So now I'm gonna dump them here into a towel. Try not to lose all of them. And then we're just gonna wrap them up and squeeze all that moisture out of them. So you can see all that liquid, which would have been in our meatball, making it soggy, we can now remove. So take that, toss it in, and that's gonna add some nice, beautiful flavor to our meatball. So from here, we've got the rest of our ingredients in there. We're just gonna mix it all up. But yeah, so when you're done mixing it, it should be moldable, but still fairly loose, right? So we're not actually making meatballs, we're gonna be making patties out of this, but that's gonna give us a nice soft texture to that meat. All right, so we have our clear stock here. So all we're gonna do to finish it off, we're gonna keep it really, really simple. We're gonna make a nice pheasant miso soup. So I have some miso here that I've been fermenting for the past year in my house. So this homemade miso, add in a spoonful of that, stir that in. Here I have some silken tofu and some beach mushrooms. Throw that in as well. We're gonna bring that back to a boil, and that's gonna be our miso soup. So,
That looks like guacamole that went bad, bro.
you look like guacamole that went bad, bro.
That's fair.
All right, so next we're gonna be moving on to our trout. So everyone's had teriyaki. I'm sure, you know, viewers at home, you're all familiar with teriyaki. Most people don't realize what the actual teriyaki is. So teriyaki is a great recipe that works with chicken. It works great with salmon, with trout, anything that has a lot of fattiness to it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna be making a very simple sauce, right? And everyone knows teriyaki is kind of this thick, glazy sauce. But a true teriyaki sauce is made by starting with a thin sauce, and then we're going to braise the meat in this sauce, and the fats from the fish are going to mix in with that sauce, and that's what's going to turn it into that beautiful, shiny, glazy sauce. So to make our sauce, we're gonna start out with some soy sauce. So this is my measuring cup for today. We're gonna do a full measuring cup of soy sauce. Then we're gonna do full measuring cup of water. And then we're gonna finish it off with a half measuring cup each of mirin, honey, and here I'm using white wine, but you can use white wine, sake, or whatever other clear spirit that you want to use. And that's it. So if I stir this up, you see it's still a very thin liquid. But as we get this in the pan with the trout, it's going to start to, again, mix with those fats and really turn into that thick, shiny glaze. It's beautiful, beautiful stuff. So yeah, I mean, we're coming up to, this is the final hurdle. So I'm gonna cut these into smaller portions. And really it's just however much, you know, we feel like eating. If you want a bigger portion, let's do that. This salmon's gonna be delicious. You're gonna want a bigger portion, just so you know.
It's just so you know, it's trout. It's a trout.
Damn it.
And yeah,
all right.
That's a trout.
Take two.
Take two.
All right. So we have this trout here. We're coming up on the final push, right? Where we've done all the prep work. We've got our meatball. We've got our cutlets ready. All we need to do is portion our trout. We got the sauce ready for it. We're gonna throw it in the pan and cook these up.
Well, I'm really excited to see that. So
let's get it going.
Let's get that going.
Cool. So I've got my Dutch oven here. It's full of oil. I use just a regular canola oil. High temperature oil is what you want. Vegetable oil, canola oil, peanut oil is probably the best you can get if you can find it. So I have this oil going. I have my temperature. It's right at 350. Perfect temperature to drop these pheasant. So you want to drop slowly and let it fall away from you so you don't splash yourself with hot oil. So there's enough oil in there that I could fit all four of these, but I'm only gonna do two at a time because you don't wanna overcrowd the oil. It's gonna drop the temperature. You're gonna end up with soggy, oily fried food. So the oil to meat ratio is really, really important. You wanna have a lot of oil and not a lot of meat, because if you crowd it, that drop in temperature, that's where you're gonna get that oiliness, that's where you're gonna get that greasiness. So, as you can see in here, we're getting some beautiful color. We got that nice brown golden color. In our cutlets, they're thin cutlets. They don't need to cook for very long. We're gonna pull out these beautiful, perfectly golden pheasant cutlets. And then finally, as it comes out, while it's still hot, hit it with a little bit of salt, because flavor flavor is better than no flavor. Quote me on that.
World-class chef.
Those are the things that you learn as a world-class chef.
Yeah, so
Flavor is better than no
you
flavor.
went to school.
No flavor at all.
I did not go to school.
So you.
I went to school to be a fucking lawyer. my second nugget of knowledge.
Are you a culinary lawyer?
Just cook it right.
Yeah.
Flavor is better than no flavor. Don't fuck up.
Whoa! What was that?
You heard it here.
The other world-class kitchens that I've been in don't have explosions like that.
But did you see how I handled the explosion? Did I fuck up?
Cool, calm, and collected the entire time.
Just saying.
I'm impressed.
World class, my friend. World class. All these like mommy bloggers are gonna tell you can use olive oil for everything you do, right? And olive oil is great. Olive oil is delicious. But there are things that just conventional canola oil does better than olive oil. One thing being having a high temperature ceiling, right? So as soon as I put this trout in, it is sizzling. And I can tell that just by looking at the oil. Now, this is canola oil in here. Had this been olive oil, you would see just a huge plume of smoke because it has a low smoking point. It burns very, very quickly because it's a delicate oil. Now, that delicateness is what makes it delicious. It's what makes it good for salad dressings. It's what makes it good for stir fries or any low temperature cooking. That's what makes it healthier. But if you are doing any sort of searing, if you're cooking a steak, if you're searing salmon, you need a high temperature oil. All right, so you'll notice as I put the trout in the pan, it's gonna wanna curl up. You see that skin tightening up? So what that's gonna do is that's gonna create a pocket of air, and that skin's not gonna be in contact with the pan. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my hand in there like a savage and just press it down. 7 seconds, hold it down until that skin relaxes again so it gets full contact with the pan so you get a nice, good sear on it. So as that skin crisps, I'm gonna quickly add in a little bit of garlic. The garlic I've smashed with my knife to kind of release those aromas, and then also some sliced ginger. Those are gonna start to toast up, release some of their aromas, which is gonna translate well to our teriyaki sauce that we're gonna add in. So we're using a nice, well-seasoned cast iron pan here. You can use a non-stick. I like cast iron because it has really nice, even heat distribution. And that heat distribution, one, if you've built up a nice base on it and it's seasoned really, really well, you notice that all 4 of these pieces, none of them are sticking, right? So this pan, to me, I use this pan more than anything else because it's as good as a non-stick pan. All right, so you see we got some nice color. Our skin is starting to crisp up. So I'm gonna flip it over now. And as I flip it over, you see our garlic is starting to toast up real nice. So is our ginger. So at this point, we're gonna add in our teriyaki sauce. And we really just want enough to cover the bottom of the pan. So you see it's bubbling a lot, which is great. It means it's reducing. So the key here, I'm going to push all of these salmon to the back. And I'm gonna tilt it towards me a little bit. And I'm gonna start to baste. So again, as I'm basting it, all of the fats within the trout, all the fats within the trout is now emulsifying with the teriyaki sauce. You see here, this sauce is now starting to thicken up. You see it running off the spoon. It's starting to coat the spoon a little bit. We're getting really, really close. I'm gonna continue basting because that's just transfusing all of that flavor from the soy sauce, from the mirin, from the wine, the ginger, the garlic, all that's being infused into that trout.
The bubbles coming down right when you turn it off. It's I've never seen that before.
All right. So we're working on our little mincemeat. So we're gonna make little patties like that. So as I'm forming these, I'm not forming them too firm. I wanna keep them kind of loose. Keep them real loosey-goosey. Yeah, baby, look at that color.
Wow. I have one buddy who's got a tramp stamp and it's fly fishing related. When you fish for redfish.
So
I wasn't paying attention. What happened?
I cooked some food.
Oh, dude. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So
In case
we've
you weren't
got.
paying attention.
So you just finished up our.
I'm finishing
pheasant
up.
patties.
Yeah.
You're finishing up our pheasant patties.
Yeah, there's one more crucial step. So we're gonna finish these off with a nice little raw yolk egg.
So I've seen this in Rocky,
Yolk
but
egg.
I think my mom always told me not to do that.
Yeah, so
Was my mom wrong?
yes and no. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? If you trust the source of your eggs, you're fine.
I mean, these are good eggs, then. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, yeah. All right,
Yeah, you don't know. You don't want to know what Ben's mom said.
we're gonna finish
what's
these
in
off.
that? What's in that jar?
So this jar, this is my super secret sauce.
Well, why are you showing the people your super secret sauce that you can't even talk about?
Listen, if the people want to know what's in this sauce, smash that like and subscribe. Am I influencing? Am I influencing? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it
You're
right?
going full influencer right now.
I just don't want to get into it right now because we got all this food and we
got
gotta
some
eat.
food that's getting
We gotta
cooked.
eat.
We're hungry.
All right, so
we're hungry boys.
I'm gonna throw some of that
On the fried chicken. Wow.
on the katsu.
Wow.
So first off, I feel bad for anybody watching because this tastes so good.
You haven't even tasted it.
I've been licking this sauce, and guys, this.
I was over here licking this pan while y'all were watching.
While I've been behind the scenes the entire time, not allowed on the screen, I've been licking and trying every little thing in here. World-class chef Ben Steigers.
All right, so ignore the pan liquor for now. Let's go over what we got. Right, so we started out the day hunting some pheasant. So we have pheasant three-way here, right? So we have our breasts, beautifully breaded, cooked to a crispy brown. It's got my secret sauce all over it. Not that secret sauce.
Right.
It's got some delicious brown sauce. Man, there's no way to say that without it sounding bad,
like it's
right?
super secret brown sauce.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a delicious soy glaze sauce.
There you go.
We have our little menchikatsus here, right? These guys, minced meat, raw egg yolk to kind of like cream it out, make it, wow, just everything.
Everything you're doing is
Like,
just...
food is sexual. Like, it just is, right? Like, you can't not
Yep.
make it like that. All right, so we got our patties here. We fried these in a pan, threw a little egg yolk on it, add a little bit of creaminess, kind of bring it all together. We got our pheasant bone miso soup over here with beach mushrooms, silken tofu, and then finally, we ended the day out on the river, catching some of these beautiful trout, not salmon.
Oh, okay.
And we did some beautiful glazed teriyaki with it. So we got teriyaki, trout, a little bit of rice, some pickles to go with it. Boys,
I just knew the pickles were gonna show up.
let's dig in.
What an awesome day. What a killer day to round out hanging out with some friends, some old friends, making some new friends, seeing what each of us is technically an expert at, fly to Salt Lake and eat Ben's food because this is incredible. It's like slightly better than my fried chicken at home, fried pheasant at home, but it like tastes a lot better than that. So, well, thanks, Ben.
That's a wrap.
We'll see y'all later. See you in the next episode. Remember to like and subscribe if you like Ben. I guess do that.